Hey there, oil country. I'm coming to you from not so oil country on the East Coast in Nova Scotia to talk about the big 6-1 victory last night over the Anaheim Ducks. Obviously, that puts us 1 point back of the LA Kings for second place in the Pacific Division and with a game at hand. This was the first game of a three-game swing through California, where the Oilers will play the Sharks on Tuesday and then the Kings on Thursday night before heading home to face Colorado. So, ideally, you'd want to end this three-game stand uh, being able to leapfrog the Kings for that second place in the division. But I wouldn't worry too much about it because there's probably going to be a lot of exchanges of that position before the end of the season. We're probably going to leapfrog each other a couple of times before somebody takes it for good. So as long as we win one of our remaining games against the Kings, I think that's all we can do and just be prepared to go down the stretch. This was certainly a good indication of where we're at and a good start for our stretch run. And there were a couple of things of note that happened for the Oilers. They haven't won on the road since March 1st against Philadelphia. That's a five-game road losing streak. So that's over all of a sudden. Of course, Anaheim was missing their top scorer Troy Terry after his altercation last night with Jay Beagle. But the Ducks were coming off their first win in 12 games. So in those situations, you never know what you're going to get the next night out of a team coming off a big 5-0 win and then rolling into the very next night. They're obviously full of a lot of emotion. But the one thing you can control is how your team plays. And the Oilers played a very, very sound game tonight. For all the flurry of pressure that Anaheim came out with in the first 5 minutes, it looked like they were all over us, that we were pinned in our end a little bit. But it wasn't a dangerous kind of pressure where you feel like anything bad's going to happen, that was a nice feeling to have as an Oilers fan. We don't usually get to have that, where there was a lot going on in our end, but there was never really any danger. And I've been in the position as a player where you're stuck in your own end, but you feel very in control. You know that nothing's going to happen. We're okay. We have good numbers. No one's given up the dangerous ice. It's all kept to the outside. They did a really nice job of giving up the low percentage ice, but when anything came into the high percentage areas, the Oilers were all over it. There was shot blocks, sticks in the lane. That was a very, very good sign. And then, you know, through all that 5 minutes, the Ducks were only credited with two shots. And then all of a sudden, just before the 5 minute mark, all of a sudden the shots are 3-2 and it's 1-0 Oilers. So, that's all you can ask for. They weathered a little bit of what you could call a storm, and they handled it perfectly, especially on the road. Nice, quiet, solid game, and then they just went and took care of business after that. It was something special, something that we're not normally treated to as Oilers fans, that's for sure. The only thing that we worry about in those situations as Oilers fans, of course, is we know Mike Smith is in net, and anything can happen when he's in the net. But that obviously didn't happen, and we took care of business, and we gave him a comfortable lead, and he made all the saves that he was supposed to make. And this offense is good enough right now that we don't really need a goaltender to win us a game. We just need the goalies not to lose games for us. That's all we want, and that's all we can ask for, and that's certainly what we got out of Mike Smith tonight. He had to make one super good save in the second period, and that came when Duncan Keith completely lost his assignment, and there was a player left wide open in front. But that only happened once the whole game. I mean, what more can you ask for? And the goal the Ducks did get in the third period, it was a 2-on-1, a very deep shot taken by Aston Reese with a couple of defense right in the way. Easy save for Mike Smith, kicks out a big rebound. It was a deep rebound. And again, it was a shot that he probably should have had. He might want it back, he might not. Doesn't really matter. The one thing of concern that I noticed was how uncomfortable he looked when he tried to push across toward the rebound, and then it slipped under his arm there. I wonder about that push and about that discomfort. I don't mind Mike Smith. I'm all for letting him have a chance to battle and compete for his spot in the net, but with what we have, we don't need to have a 70% or less Mike Smith do that. We have enough that we can rely on someone else and let him get healthy if that's what we want to do. He doesn't need to be out there battling for a spot if he's not 100%, and he certainly has looked like he's been struggling mostly with pushing across and covering any great distance in any short amount of time. That's where he seems to have a problem. I wonder about that groin, and I think we don't need to force it on him. Tonight didn't seem to matter. We played very, very well. It's nice to give him some time in the net, but I don't think we need to force it and give him all kinds of time in the net unless he's definitely healthy. Now, the only other time the Ducks got there, the net was in the first period, and I had to laugh. It was right after the Oilers' first goal, and Max Comtois of the Ducks, he got the puck right beside the Oilers' net, and he tried to do the old pull it between your legs and then flick it back towards the net move. And I thought, oh boy, he's going to pay for that later. How dare the Ducks double down and embarrass the Oilers that way, trying to show that flashy skill. I was afraid that would start a brawl, but luckily that never happened because some teams were able to control themselves. I don't know. Uh, But anyway, yeah, that's in general how the game worked. The Ducks did have the puck a lot and they worked around a lot, but the Oilers held their structure. They gave up the low percentage areas, but they took really good care of the important ice, the danger areas, and it was a fun game to watch that way. Now, as well as the Oilers played as a team defensively, something that they did very, very well offensively is manufacture offense from the blue line, and that seemed to be a theme. All 3 goals in the first period were generated from getting the puck in deep, driving the net, taking that initial rush at the net for a chance, and then immediately kicking it back out to the point and resetting the attack from there. That seemed to work very, very well. Yeah, a few notable achievements were Kulak had his first goal as an Oiler, which also came from the point, by the way, and he had a 3-point night to boot. So big night for him there. Puljujärvi got his first goal since coming back from injury. That's a really nice monkey off his back, and possibly a little bit of a quiet down message to the naysayers who obviously never watch him play, and they don't see how much detail and compete there is to his game. Now they'll see his name on a score sheet and think he's done something different for a change, but obviously we know that's not the case. He's just finally gotten a bounce and a break, and good on him. Really happy for him. And Leon Draisaitl finally got his 50th, again on a feed from the blue line. A great diagonal cross-zone pass by Kulak over to Draisaitl in his garden spot there. A left-handed one-timer from the right side. And that's another thing to keep track of, though, is Draisaitl appeared to shake himself up right as the Nurse penalty was being called. And yes, Nurse had another stupid penalty that was in the first period. Just an absolutely pointless extra elbow to the head, literally 200 feet away from his own net and about 2 feet away from the back official, who was standing right there watching the whole time. Those are the kinds of things that'll kill you in a 7-game series. And he's made a bit of a habit of it. Hopefully in the playoffs he picks his moments better, although I guess why would he need to, because in the playoffs they throw the rule book out the window altogether anyway, so who cares? But anyway, Draisaitl saw Nurse, was caught up the ice doing that genius play, so he backchecked really hard, likely harder than Austin Matthews would have, by the way, I wonder. And he cut Zegras off from going behind the net, and Zegras was probably trying to set up for another lacrosse goal, that showboating son of a bitch he is. Take notes, folks. That's how you deal with it. You don't sulk for 2 periods and then attack somebody randomly at the end of the game. You shut it down before it happens with a good hard check like this. Only, unfortunately, Draisaitl stumbled a bit and hit the boards hard. He did appear to be laboring a bit for the rest of the game, so it's something to watch for the rest of this week. But he did battle through for the rest of the game, and he looked all right at the end. Of course, everybody looks all right after they score their 50th goal, but something to keep an eye on, and hopefully he's all right down the stretch. And speaking of which, we have the Sharks Tuesday, then the Kings on Thursday. Now, the Kings are 5-3-2 in their last 10 games. But between January 30th and February 26th, they had a stretch where they went 7-1, with their only loss coming at the hands of our Oilers, who at the time happened to be in the middle of what became their own 5-game winning streak. And since then, the Oilers and the Kings have been rather similar in their records. They're sort of 4 wins here, 2 losses there, and then a win and a loss, and then maybe 3 wins and 2 losses, that sort of thing. Above 500 play, but down the stretch, that's why I think this head-to-head is so important, or at least getting a split in the head-to-heads, so that those down the stretch even records, a point here or 2 will make a big difference. They're playing very similar hockey. They're very similar styles, and I'm very actually excited to see where this could go in a 7-game series. But we certainly want to make sure we keep that divisional spot. And the way things are rolling, the way things went tonight, it was certainly nice to have a quiet game. We don't get those much we go up 3 or 4 fairly early, and again, it's still a crapshoot, especially with Smitty in net. So it was very nice to see that just play out quietly, both ways. Not a lot of physicality, like aggressive physicality, just enough physicality to win your battles and go home with a victory and have a nice, easy, relaxing time before heading off to your next game. That's a rare thing for us, and we certainly got it last night, and it's good to see, and hopefully that continues. All right, enjoy the game Tuesday.